Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to take a moment and to just acknowledge the music here. You guys have a phenomenal music team, and I gotta just, as a musician myself, I so appreciate that. It was great to be able to sing this morning along with all of you in praise. I'd like to share my testimony with you for a moment. About 35 years ago, a young man, about 16 years ago, who was raised Catholic and Presbyterian, was becoming aware of his spirituality. And this young man had had some instances of rebelliousness, had some instances of apathy, of insolence, just like a lot of teenage boys do. But there was something awakening inside of him. So he began to read books. Ruth Montgomery got him started. And then through Ruth Montgomery, he became aware of Edgar Cayce, and he joined the Edgar Cayce study group, which was a very powerful experience in his life. And through the Edgar Cayce study group, he became acquainted with people from Unity. And so they invited him to one of their services. And that young man walked through the door and sat down and was mesmerized. Because not only did they line up with the teachings of Edgar Cayce, but they fed something in his soul. Well, 35 years later, this young man is standing right here before you. I walked into this very church and listened, well, not this very church, it was actually the cute little chapel you had on the other side, which was standing room only, and listened to Reverend Hammonds deliver his message. And although I did not become a regular attendee, and I went in and out throughout my life, my 20s, my 30s, and onward, I always had those seeds of consciousness that had been planted in me, not only from my ARE experiences and my other, but from this congregation right here 35 years ago. So I just want to let you guys know that whatever you say, whatever kindnesses you give, whatever wisdom you impart right now in this moment, there will be a harvest. And it will grow. And I'm living proof of that. Thank you with all my heart. I love each and every one of you. So I had a really cool intro planned. And as Spirit usually does, it says, no, I got something else for you. So I have to share this with you. I was going to have somebody turn out the lights and leave you all in the dark for a minute. But as I walked into the sanctuary and was hit with light, it was not happening. And I thought, as I was sitting here, what a powerful metaphor. That we cannot turn off the light. The light is always shining within us. It might be obscured by a veil, it might be obscured by our thoughts or the feelings, whatever we're experiencing, but we cannot shut that light out. So being in the sanctuary was just a powerful metaphor for that saying. So I came up with something else, or actually Spirit had given me something else because it's not me. And what I would like to do now is just invite you all to close your eyes for a moment. And this isn't a meditation per se, it's more of a connection exercise. I would like you to close your eyes and imagine a time in your life, maybe in the past or maybe now, where you've been experiencing difficulties in a relationship, or maybe your finances, or maybe with a job, or your spiritual progress. Just take a moment and connect with a time in your mind. And as you find that, I want you to say to it, let there be light. Say that out loud, quietly. Let there be light. And now say it again with a little more enthusiasm. Let there be light. And as you hold this in your consciousness, say it one more time from the bottom of your stomach all the way out. Let there be light. Well, very good. You've just taken your very first step into the first day. So our verse today, our key verse, comes from Genesis chapter 1, verse 3. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And so out of that is the affirmation which we just used. Let there be light. How did you feel when you said that? Did you feel the power behind that? Did you feel a spark maybe being lit? Like maybe you had some inkling of illumination that you were going to get a breakthrough or a revelation. But that's the power of that statement. That's the power of that image. So if I could show you a way today that we could use this to overcome, to get not only get illumination, but to help us turn these instances of fear and anxiety into something that will propel us forward in our development and in our lives. Would you be interested in that?
Certainly, yeah.
Thank you. I would. Well, fortunately for you, we have a great founder, co-founder in the name of Charles Fillmore in Unity. You guys familiar with him at all? And Charles Fillmore took the story of Genesis, and what Genesis is basically an allegory. It's a story that has a hidden meaning to it. And Charles Fillmore found this hidden meaning, found this key, not only to illuminate the whole passage of Genesis, but also to highlight steps we can take, tools we can use to transform our lives. So I would like to, I've got my glass of water real quick there. Thank you. I never started reading without the living water. So I'd like to read this verse of Genesis. And so we can really connect with it. I'm going to go a little beyond the actual Genesis 3. And actually, I'm 50 years old now, so I get to put my peepers on. Open my eyes that I may see. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and earth, the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while the wind from God swept over the face of the waters. And then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. He called night the darkness, and light day. And there was an evening, and there was a morning. This was the first day. And so there's actually 6 days of creation, plus a day of rest. And Fillmore took each one as a step in our transformation. And today we're just going to focus, because to do all 6 in one shot would be a lot. So we're going to just take day 1. We're going to take the first step. And that first step is light. That first step is illumination. And again, this goes with a process. We start with light. You ever been camping? Anybody been tent camping before? Maybe had to use the facilities at midnight? What's the first thing you grab? Absolutely, we grab a flashlight. We need to see where we're going. We need to dispel the darkness. When I was a kid, and you know how kids' imaginations work, I don't think it's ever changed for me, but I used to think there were monsters under my bed. And I would stand up on my bed and look around. When the parents turned the light off, that was a scary time. The bed and the closet. So I kept a flashlight, because light melted them away. It made them disappear, just poof, vaporized them. And so what a powerful metaphor that is for some of the things we're going through, is to poof, make it disappear. So I'd like to take this passage verse by verse and show you guys, just on this first day, what it can do for us. Are you guys up for that? Sure. All right. So in the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. So it was really interesting going through this passage because when it starts, the earth is already formed. It's basically there, but there's nothing on it. And there's chaos probably swirling all around it. And what this does, what Charles Fillmore does, is not so much what you believe in evolution or the physical part of it. This is what's going on within us. And what we're talking about metaphorically is the realm of divine ideas. It's in our consciousness. Charles Fillmore likes to call it evolution. So this first several chapters of Genesis talks about the involution, what's going on inside of us. So we're going to pay attention to that and what's going on in our minds as we move through these times. He defines chaos as disorder, confusion, discord, and the chaos in body and affairs results from chaos in the mind, a product of the sense man. That definition sounds a little scary, doesn't it? But does chaos have to be something we fear? Is there a way to embrace chaos and maybe make it work for us? Well, Robert Brummett has a really good book called Birthing a Greater Reality. And there's an interesting way he talks about chaos in here, and I love this. To birth new worlds, we must dance with chaos. Have you ever thought of dancing with chaos before? Conscious evolution sometimes requires that we let go of our existing world in order to birth a new one. When we let go of this world, we enter the realm of chaos, which is the place where all worlds are born. If we mindfully embrace the chaos, we will birth a new world and new desires. The new desire is that which Andrew Cohen calls the evolutionary imperative. It is the universal unfolding, its creative urge through our personal life. Our cultural bias tells us that chaos is bad. It's something wrong. Chaos means that we're out of control, which is not highly valued in this present society, is it? Chaos frightens the ego and shatters the ego's illusion of control. When we realize that this control is a complete illusion, then we lose our fear of chaos. With this insight, we begin to see that life can be trusted, even chaos, which is an intrinsic part of itself. To become conscious evolutionaries, we must learn to dance with chaos. And I just thought that was a powerful metaphor. Instead of struggling, and it goes with our principle of non-resistance, right? And today's daily word, what was it? Anybody read the daily word today? Let go, let God, that release flowing with it. So we're going to approach it from that aspect. So it goes on. The earth was a formless void and covered with the face of the deep. And this is the other thing about chaos that we can view it as. The earth is a formless void. It's substance that lies behind everything we see. So with our divine idea, divine intelligence that comes from God, we can take this substance and shape it, create it. And so he saw this void. It was empty. It was devoid. And he moved through this. And that's the other part of chaos. There's movement. And with movement, we grow. What happens when we sit still and do nothing? We stagnate. We die. So that movement and chaos can be used to our advantage. We can take that movement, and as we shine the light on it, we recognize it's good, and that void becomes a new creation. What was missing in somebody's heart becomes filled with love. What's missing in our finances becomes full of overflowing abundance. And so we claim that. We claim that void. And the wind from God sweeping over the face of the waters, that is that divine movement. The face of the waters, bringing in our conscious, illuminating the unconscious mind so that our higher self, our Christ self, can work through it and have that free exchange with our waking conscious mind. Well, then God said, what did God say? What did he say? What did he say? I want to hear the window shatters. What was said? And there was light. There was. It's here. It's now. It's in us. So do you feel the power behind that when you say it? Do you really feel it? And if not, say it again. Declare. Declare when you're feeling something, when you're experiencing those anxieties, those panic attack, those fears, that incessant chatter that we hear. Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light in my finances. Let there be light in my relationships. Let there be light in my business. Let there be light in my job. Let there be light in my family. Let there be light. So again, by declaring this, you eliminate the chatter and invite illumination and understanding into your awareness. E.V. Ingram, who was a Unity minister, had a book called Creation and Recreation. This is going back a little ways. But he had an interesting take on the power of the spoken word. And where does that power reside? It's the 12th power. It's one of the 12 powers, and it resides right here in our vocal cords. And we exercise that every day when we speak. So it's not only imperative that you watch your thoughts, you have to watch your speech as well. You have to watch what comes out of these vocal cords and reflect. Does it reflect good? Does it reflect love? Does it reflect life? Or am I just part of that mindless babble that goes on in the world? The power comes straight from here, and it assists us in propelling and brightening this light. So E.V. Ingram says, the spoken word does not necessarily mean an audible word, though at times the audible word may be most effective. The thinking, the feeling, and the speaking of words, ideas, in the conscious union with the Father, or divine spirit, are factors in accomplishing our recreation. So again, it's not just words, it's the thinking and feeling behind it. Have you ever been angry at somebody and let loose a few words with that anger behind it? Goodness, what does that feel like? Or have you held a child or held a loved one and said, I love you, but what came from your heart preceded what came out of your mouth? That's what we're talking about. Those feelings are very powerful instruments that we deal with. So the first command is let there be light. And it's symbolic of the illumination, the spiritual intelligence, the wisdom. In the chapter of John, it says, in him the Logos was life. Logos is the word. And the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness apprehended it not. And that's from John chapter 1, verses 4 and 5. That is, there is light, a creation of divine mind, and it is life of man that's embodied in this force of God. But functioning in the mortal consciousness, that's our consciousness right now, that we are unaware of the wisdom bestowed on us often by our Creator. So again, divine, when we talk about light, when we talk about that first day, we're talking about illumination. We're talking about in that realm of mind, awakening the intelligence that's already ours to claim. Awaken ourselves to it, so that we may move forward with intelligence and increase our understanding. And so verse 4 goes on. God saw that light was good, and good was separated, the light from darkness. That was God saying, my time's almost up. Thank you for laughing along with me. I love you guys. So verse 4, God saw the light was good. We have a lot to get through, so I better get this going. God saw the light was good, and that God separated the light from the darkness. So Charles Fillmore, in the Mysteries of Genesis, said, all that emanates from God is good, right? Is our first unity principle, right? There's one power and presence active in my life, God the good. It is good. There's different ways of wording that, but that's the essence of it, right? And in the process of bringing forth our ideas, we need a certain degree of understanding in order to properly regulate our thoughts. The light must be divided from the darkness. As in divine mind, the light was separated from the darkness. And this word of separation, this threw me for a loop for a while, because we're taught there's no separation at all. There's no separation of God. God's not separate. But it's not a separation in the sense that we think, a permanent wall. It's just a separation of aspects of it. That we still have that, because day and night are alike to him. In Psalm 139 it said, day and night are alike. There is no difference. But in this case, we're separating our higher thought from our lower thought. So the first step in creation is wakening man to the spiritual consciousness, the dawning of the light in his mind, his perception of truth through the quickening of his spirit. Light is wisdom, and the first day's work is the calling of light or wisdom into expression. Light represents intelligence and darkness. Oh, and I forgot about verse 5. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. And on each of these days, there is evening and there is morning. There is an ending and there is a beginning. There's a transformative process that takes place through each day, each one of the 6 days, each one of the 6 steps. After each day of creation, this is again from Charles Fillmore, there was an evening and a morning. The evening represents completion, and the morning represents the activity of ideas. So there's a completion and an activity that's a buzz. This is the whole secret of progress. When one step is attained, man is ready to go forward. So we can't take all these steps at once. It's not just one giant leap and all the steps are done. No, this is a methodical process. Day 1, illumination. Day 2, faith, and so on, and so on. So each one of these steps is a whole lesson unto itself. He cannot take all the steps at once and should be content to progress in an orderly, harmonious fashion. And the 6 days again represent the development or degrees of mind unfoldment. So, to bring this home, to sum it all up, to use this power of light and illumination to access this intelligence that'll help us shape the transformation that's occurring, what's the first thing we do? We acknowledge chaos. We acknowledge what's going on in our life. There's stuff going on. But instead of putting it aside or pushing it down, we dance with it, right? Come on, chaos. Let me lead. We get to lead with that. And the next step is to look at it. Look it straight in the eye and say, let there be light. Let there be light. Say that with me. Let there be light. Say it again. Let there be light. And again, let there be light. Yes, let there be light. And so with unity, prayer and meditation are a foundation of what we do. So we take that. We take that vision of light, enfolding anything we're trying to change or grow or create, and we hold that. We take that into the silence with us, and we hold it. And our prayer is that it will manifest. And so with the realization that comes to us out of that prayer period, we're able to move forward to the next step and have clear vision. How many of us always pray for clarity on a situation a lot of times? I know I do. Lord, show me what my next step is. And that's where the illumination comes in. And we'll build on that in later days in this creation. And lastly, is to give thanks. Give thanks for that awareness, for that substance that's already present, that's already there, that's unwaveringly will never leave us ever, that we can, as long as we acknowledge it and shine a light on it, We can claim that. Claim it in each and every moment, no matter what the situation we're experiencing. And we just claim it by saying what? 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 Can they hear you in Santee? Let there be light. Namaste, everybody. I behold the light in each and every one of you.